Hi, I'm Jay, and today I'm going to show you what backwashing leaves behind in your diatomaceous earth or DE filter. Let's take a look. So here's my setup. I have a Hayward DE filter and a multi-port valve, and if you have a DE filter, that's probably why you're watching this video. And we're going to get to cleaning it out. But in order to make this fair, we're going to backwash the filter first. And that is your standard procedure like you'd always do. So what I'm going to do is get my pool configured here. I'm going to turn off my solar heater for that. Turn off the pump and let everything drain out for a minute just to get everything copacetic, and then we'll go through the backwash procedure, and then we'll open the filter up. Alright, so what you would typically do is turn your multi-port valve over to backwash, just like that. Then we'll turn it on. And you wash your sight glass. It's just kind of cloudy, not that green. So that's just DE, and that means the pool really isn't that filthy, because otherwise you'd see green from algae and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to kind of let that run, and you do what works for you in terms of backwash. They say to go from there, and then we're going to go to rinse, and then back to backwash like 3 to 5 times. It's up to you. People say different things about how long you should leave it in backwash. Some say leave it for till it's clear. Some say leave it for 5 minutes. The whole game is, it's a game. The rules are made up. Whoever tells you what is not the real thing. It changes all the time. That's good enough for me. We'll shut it off. We'll go over to rinse and turn it back on. Again, they're going to tell you, oh, 30 seconds is fine. No, you got to leave that on rinse for 5 minutes. The rules are made up as you go along. That's good enough for me. Now we'll go back to backwash. Some more cloudiness in the sight glass over there. Leave it till it runs clear. Then we're going to go to rinse. I'll backwash a 3rd time, and then we'll go and open the filter up. So the air conditioners are shut off so you could hear me a bit better, but sorry, they're going to kick on when they do, because that's how it works. You want to take your bung out of the bottom. It unscrews. If you can't get it to unscrew, you can put a flat blade screwdriver in there that just use as a handle. But you should never make it that tight that you really need one. So you can undo that, and you can open your manual air relief. That'll make it drain a lot faster. And we're going to let that drain out. So just leave that till everything comes out. You can see down at the bottom, it's not the happiest water in the world. It's also not absolutely terrible. I've definitely seen a lot worse. I see little bits and pieces coming out. There was a little chunk that just belched out. Remember, we just backwashed. So let this drain out. Let it drain out good. I'm not going to bother waiting because it's virtually drained. You need a wrench for the turnbuckle on the filter. So we're going to zoom in on that. Okay, here it is here. So what you have, just to explain first, is this is a buckle just like a belt on your pants. But you have to undo it over here. So there's a bolt on there, you have an end piece, a spring, and another end piece, and then the nut on there. This is a 9/16 on this filter, which I think is a 4820 filter. Now you can use an open end wrench like that, it'll work just fine, but this is one of them ratchety deals, so that's going to make it that much better. So we got to run this down for a while. We're going to run it all the way until we can handle the nut by itself, you know, by hand. And you're going to unscrew that. Do not lose anything here. And keep everything in order. It'll just make it a lot easier later. So it's a very long thread on here. You got to keep turning and turning and turning, and eventually it will come out. We're getting there. There it is. And the end piece over here. So keep everything in order, as it were, like that. Let me put that aside. And now you want to undo the buckle. You kind of, you got to work with it. You see how it's kind of coming loose? You can pull it, you can push on that. Sometimes you're going to have to get a hammer out, which it looks like I'm going to have to do, and kind of bang on it to get it to come out. Okay, it was just a matter of kind of pulling that. See how this thing turns like that? So it was just on there tight. You can just bang it with a hammer, and it's going to get stuck in various places. Like it looks like it's stuck over here. So there, that came off. And then around back. Again, just use a rubber mallet or something like that. I'm probably going to have to get one of those to get it off, and then we can open this up. So here it is here. It's got a metal band on the outside. That's why it looks bent in places like that, because it's in 3 separate pieces that go around. So with that off, now you can go ahead and take the top of the tank off. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. This is made out of fiberglass. Unless you want to be itching for the next 36 weeks, put some gloves on. Ask me how I know. Okay, now you take the top of the tank. Now I'm going to kind of grab it here and, yeah, see how you can work it loose? And now I'll grab the whole top, pull all the way up clear of it, and just take that and put it out of the way. I'm going to take you handheld for this shot here. Remember, we just backwashed this. It doesn't look too bad here, but then coming in here, look at all this. That's DE. Over here, there's DE. Back over here, look at all that junk. And over here, and here's a fun one. My pool brush was old and falling apart, so bristles got into the pool, which is okay, and it got a whole clump of them and it left it up here in the filter in that. So you could see it's not the greatest looking in here. It's not, I've seen it a lot worse for sure. Now, there's going to be a discussion at this point in the video of what I'm going to do. So most people are going to say, oh, at this point, pull out the whole grid assembly, take it apart, take each one of the grids, and then you can clean that off. Get your pressure washer out. That'll clean it right up. Okay, listen, here's the deal. You saw the title of the video. It said the easy way. So here's what we're going to do. Don't touch it. Leave it there. And if there's any armchair engineers out there that say, oh, you're not getting a thorough job, you are correct. Okay? You're absolutely correct. But I'm going to get this filter 90% better than it is now, doing no work at all. If you want to take this out, there's a pipe over here with an O-ring. You could end up damaging that O-ring, then you got to buy that. That's not fun, because meanwhile it pulls down now. So you got to get that. This gasket might also go bad. That's possible also. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see. And as far as all the people who want to take this out and take it apart, yeah, you can. There's a bolt here. After you pull the whole grid assembly out, you can undo that and then get your pressure washer and end up destroying all of the grids in there. That whole assembly, last I checked, was something like 650 bucks. Not something I want to spend if I don't have to. So it's really easy. Leave it in there and just get the garden hose. All right, pretty much just take the hose and start hosing it down. Remember, the bung at the bottom is out, So anything you spray is going to go to the bottom of this and come out the hole. And you'll spray it out, we'll flush it out, you'll see later. Okay, look at that. Just that fast, it goes clean. Get into all of the crevices at the top and give everything a really good spray down. Now, like I said, there's different panels in here. So get the hose in there to each one of them and work it out. Like in here, I already sprayed it, but look at that, big clump of DE. So it's in there, and you got to work it out. I'm going to just work on this, just spraying with the garden hose. Anybody can do that, and get it as clean as you can. So that's all the stuff that was left behind. That's all DE that was left behind that did not backwash out. There it is. All that wonderful, wonderful stuff. Now there's going to be more armchair engineers and the environmentalists who are going to say, oh, no, you've now poisoned the environment with this DE. Hey, guess what? They use that in gardening. So the same vegetables that you and I eat, they put this on the ground to help prevent insects from spoiling the crops. So it's perfectly safe. And there's other people that say, oh, it's carcinogenic. Yeah, if you do it every day, day in, day out, and you're dealing with dry DE, so it's all airborne, little tiny particles, that can be a problem. But when it's wetted down like this, it's not. Don't lick it, don't eat it, don't snort it, you're fine. You may be curious what happens if you turn your pump on while the filter is open. It's actually not a bad idea to do so, because if there's any junk left in the bottom there, and remember, all I did is I took the garden hose and I sprayed that. I'm going to show it to you right after I do this here. We're going to just turn the pump on. It's still in backwash. Doesn't really matter what position, but here we go. Turn it on. The pump is going to catch prime. The grids actually expand. And let this go. Let it flood out, because that's going to help flush all the crap in there out of there. And here he goes. And it just overflows. That's what happens. But it's good, because now we've flushed all of that stuff out. The weird sounds you hear are normal when it's open like this. They actually happen all the time in there, but you don't hear them as well with the cover on. So let that all drain out, and I'm going to show you inside of here. There's going to be other people that say about how, you know, letting the DE onto the ground here is bad, and I'm flooding my house. This is, I live on an island. It's sand, okay? It drains right down. It's no big deal whatsoever. So that is a non-issue here. For you, it might be, depending where you live, but here it's really not an issue whatsoever. Some people have told me that they pulled their entire grid assembly out and sprayed down on their driveway. Great. You saw all the mess here. You're then going to hose that down your driveway into the street. That's going to get into the gutters and clog up our precious waterways and kill all the fish and the birds and all of that stuff. Listen, you can't have it both ways, okay? Do this, go swimming, the rest will be fine. It'll take care of itself. The earth heals itself. Takes time, but it will do it. Let me go in here and show you the grids now. Right down in there, nothing left to speak of. There might be one, two little, you know, like a little, who cares, you know. But 90% at least better than it was. And all of the stuff that came out of here was all stuff that was left behind when you backwash. In fact, there's still even just a little bit more. So I'm going to spray just a little more in here before I close this back up. And of course, I'm going to show you that. Just get it as clean as you can. Like I said, this is the easy way. If you want to get 100%, you can pull it out and risk breaking this. But for 650 bucks, I'm not taking that chance. I've done it before. I've replaced this entire assembly. So I clearly know what's involved with that. But there you go. Just leaving it in place and hosing it out, you can get a really good job done. So here's the gasket around here that goes all around. They say you're supposed to lubricate that stuff. At your pool store, you'll get your pool lube stuff. That's what you're supposed to use. Over here I have the super lube stuff. From what I understand, it's supposed to be the same stuff, but I've had an interesting thing happen when using the lubricants, which is strange because even when I used to get the stuff at the pool store in the little tube, any gasket that I would hit with the silicone stuff would end up expanding. It would seal, but then if I had to take it apart, it would expand and ruin it. I have no idea why, so I'm not going to be using that. We're just going to hope for the best. It seems like it still has a little bit of lube on it from last time. It seems supple enough that hopefully it'll be alright. So let's go ahead and put the top back on. Okay, this just goes back exactly the orientation you found it. So we'll just come down. Now I got this plant in the way, so I got to make sure I get all of that out. So that's good. We'll get this about seated correctly, and it has to sit on there just right. It's sort of like an outdoor garbage can with a lid that fits nice. You'll look around, you'll see where it, you know, it kind of just sits good in that one spot. So once you do that, then you put the clamp on. Okay, so here's the band clamp. You can see a little nangly guy over there. That was the way I took it off, so that's why I'm putting it back. It's that easy. It goes around like a belt. Just put it around the entire filter, and it goes around the whole thing like that. Maybe if I'm lucky, it'll stay for just a second while I take a look back here. Not too bad. And we also have to fish this through, and you'll see it's not going to do that. So you got to take it off and feed the bolt through, and then you knock the whole thing off, and you got to do this 15 times. It's a little bit of a fiddly process. If you have somebody else who can hold it, it's going to help. But you feed that bolt back through, and I'll show you the rest. Okay, now you see we have the bolt going through there. So everything is all set. Just make sure the clamp is kind of tight around. You can bang it on the back. And again, it's going to pop off and do all that stuff. Just get it on there as good as you can, and then we're going to bolt up, put the nut back on. Okay, this is now ready to go back on. It's actually in 3 pieces. It kind of can come off as 2. First you have the back washer. So stick that on. Remember, the whole band clamp is on the hair trigger. The next is the spring. Now the spring goes on like that, and then this fits inside and it's threaded, and there's a washer on that. So feed that in the center of the spring, and don't cross thread it, you'll get it seated. And now we got to run this down. It's a long thread. Okay, so now we have that on there, and we have to tighten it down. What they tell you to do is to tighten this down so all of the coils of the spring are touching each other. What I found is that's way too tight. In fact, if you look at this closely, this bolt is actually bent, probably from it being over-tightened over the years. So we have to keep tightening this down because it's just finger tight now, in fact not even. again, if you have one of these ratchet jobbies, it's going to make it a lot easier. You still got a lot of wrenching to do here, so let's keep going here. Okay, now we're starting to get tight because the parts of the spring are starting to come together, and I'm feeling a sort of resistance in mine, kind of like creaks or squeaks, but I kind of feel some resistance, so I know I'm really in the ballpark. Yeah, you see how it just got a little tighter yet? I don't know if you caught that, but the clamp actually got a little tighter. So we're getting there. Yeah, it's, you know, it's squished down even more. It moved again. Yeah, I think that's pretty good to me. Oh, one more. Just a little more. That's pretty good and tight. I think that'll do. So now we're going to put in the bung at the bottom and get everything started back up. All right, I'm pretty happy the clamp is on there. Remember, you can always tighten that up if you need to later on. If it's loose, it'll leak, and then, you know, you'll deal with it. That's all, you can tighten it up. But if you make it too tight and you break something, well, that's on you. Anyway, put the bung in. Just go ahead and screw that right in. Don't cross-thread any of this stuff. You'll just be in for a bad time. Right there, tight enough. Remember, you can always make it tighter if you need to, so we're all good there. Okay, now we are ready to roll. We're going to go back to filtration. Before we do this, a couple of things. People are going to say, oh, as soon as you put it on filtration, you have to put DE in. That's not true. Yes, you have to put DE in. Don't go to lunch and come back and do it then. Do it very soon after. That's all there is to it. It's not an emergency and has to go in 3 seconds after you turn it on. So we're going to put the handle back to filtration, right there. I still have the manual air relief open, and we're going to leave that open because now we're going to turn it back on. And we're going to wait until water sprays out the top. So here we go. Pump is going to catch prime. And we'll come over here and you'll see that that will start spitting out water eventually. It's all air now. This whole thing has to fill with water, so it's going to take a minute. Get close. There we go, beautiful. Now you can shut that off. Okay, so now the filter is back up and running. We have to put DE in, but now take a look at the band clamp and see if anything's leaking. I'm going to go and inspect that. And yes, as you can see, I do have a leak. I'm not terribly concerned about that because I have seen these leaks actually stop on their own after an hour or two. So you can check that, and then again, you can always retighten it. So again, it's not the end of the world if you have a leak like that. It might heal itself, or you can tighten it some more. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put DE in. So I'm just going to take the whole thing off, just make it easy. We have some leaves in there. I'll dump those out quick. Put the basket back in. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's only going to collect some more leaves. So now we have to put DE in. This is called an initial charge. Now you want to check the book for your DE filter and find out what it calls for the initial charge. It may be an extra scoop or two on top of what you would normally put in. Because of that, mine is supposed to take 5 scoops. I do 4. So I'm going to do the full 5 this time. And I think that'll be just fine. Again, check the book for your particular filter to see. Again, don't snort the stuff, don't lick the stuff, don't eat the stuff, don't breathe in the particles. No, you don't have to wait and put it in slowly. It's all going to go right in. It's not a problem. Just take it and dump it right in. You can go nice if you want like this. but it's just fine. So there's 2, here's 3, 4, and 5. Good. There we are. All done. Close that up. Away. Good. Let's get that over there. There's DE here. So just kind of, you know, rinse off, rinse in whatever you just put in. No sense leaving it there to not do its job. So just kind of rinse that out. Pull the basket out. That's full of DE. So do the golf ball wash, just like that. Just kind of keep doing it like that. And that'll rinse out pretty good right there. The water is still very cloudy because there's still a lot of DE in here. I like to take my hand and just kind of swirl down in there, just to get everything in there nice and good. The water is clearing up fine. So we put that back, put this back, once it's lined up, and we're all set. So there you go, all back together, DE's in, and it's filtering once again. That's all there was to it. You don't have to take it all apart and take all of that out. Like I said, if I got it 90% clean, it's still 90% better than it was. And you saw all that stuff that backwashing left behind. Now, why we don't do this every single time? Let's be honest with each other, it's a pain in the ass, okay? That's really why. So backwashing in between gets rid of a lot of it, but not all of it. Now your filter is going to be a top-notch efficiency for a crystal clear pool all summer. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, make sure you click like and subscribe. There's also that big thanks button at the bottom. If you can click that, I would greatly appreciate it. Helps me out and helps the channel out. Thanks again, and have a great day.